Mr. Mișcoiu, the results of the Hungarian parliamentary elections are kind of devastating for Viktor Orbán, with the opposing party TISA of Péter Magyar having a strong majority and being able to rule by itself. What is your initial comment on what we saw as results and campaign?
The result is unexpected for TISA and for Fidesz. It is unexpected because in spite of the pre-electoral surveys, the projection in seats was not as favorable as reality proved to be to Magyar Péter and to TISA. And my first guess is that the Hungarians wanted to turn the Orban page rapidly and decisively. So they wanted to avoid a situation where there is no majority, where there is no stable government, and where from where Viktor Orban could come back to politics. Now, the logical result would be that Orban drops any political activity, at least at the top, and the opposition appoints a new leader more able to come back in 4 years. And this decisive vote of the Hungarians was also meant to turn for good the Orban page from the Hungarian politics. Otherwise, it is obvious that in these uninominal constituencies, the number of seats won by TISA was much higher than the expected one. To be particularly favorable for the creation of a mood that helped TISA party to overwhelm Fidesz even in its more faithful constituencies in the east, in the center, or in the south.
Péter Magyar is presented as some kind of a absolute change in Hungary, but also he's a former Fidesz member, and on some issues such as military aid for Ukraine or Ukraine's acceptance to the EU or even other issues, he seems to be not so different from Orban. So in what ways do you expect TISA ruling, TISA government and Magyar government to be different from Orban, and in what ways it could be even continuation of what we had until now?
So Magyar Péter won the elections because he was mild conservative. He knew very well that the solution was not to push, as it happened in 2018, in 2022, the left, meaning the socialists and the liberals, in the forefront of the election. Many Hungarians who would normally vote for the liberals, the social democrats, or some sort of a centrist party joined TISA, knowing that TISA was center-right neoconservative party, but with a clear pro-European option. And the election of Magyar Péter was the only possible solution to get rid of Viktor Orbán and of Fidesz. Now, on different tracks, I think that Magyar articulated a position that was fashionable for the elections, as the helping Ukraine was not the most attractive point of a campaign. He did not exaggerate on helping Ukraine. He showed more conservative positions in these respects, but he knows very well that for joining back the European realm as a fully integrated country. For instance, to get once more the Erasmus funding for Hungary and to unlock lots of other opportunities given by the European Union, he would need to play a very mild card and to articulate his position in relation with that of the European Union, including of the Ukrainian file. So I think that in some societal issues, for instance, on migration at large, on other more societal topics, he could continue Orban's policy, but on those elements that are crucial for the future of the European Union, he will understand very well that the only opportunity for Hungary would be to join the positions of Brussels.
How is Péter Magyar's success seen in Romania? Romania has a very influential liberal tendency, but also very strong sovereignist bloc, and some of Romania's sovereignists seem to be pro-Orban.
So Romania has a critical position against Viktor Orbán, and this is the majority of the pro-European parties that think that Viktor Orbán was harmful to the bilateral relations. And the main reason is the continuous interference of Orban in the domestic political affairs of Romania, backing in a quite unorthodox way the party of the Hungarian minority, backing some parts of the leadership of the Hungarian minorities and banning some others. And moreover, it has been humiliating several times for the Romanian authorities to see Viktor Orbán coming to Romania, many times in private visits, but also in official visits, such as the one in yearly one in Cluj-Napoca at the summer school, where he did not miss one occasion to insult the Romanian authorities, to mock the political instability in Romania, and to give his personal example as a leader. These things have been several times perceived as being humiliating, especially because of the fact that the Foreign Ministry of Romania always issued some suggestions for Mr. Orban, asking him not to address some questions, and he mocked also those suggestions. So this behavior of Viktor Orban as a difficult leader and the de facto leader of the Hungarian community also in Romania was upsetting for the Romanian authorities. And they are happy to see now a change, and maybe Magyar Péter, who will interfere in a much more gentle way and in a much more discreet way by helping the minority, the Hungarian minority in Transylvania. This being said, Orban had also some supporters in Romania, not direct supporters because of the Romanian-Hungarian rivalry, which is traditional and historical, but rather admirers for his political style and especially for his political ability to be elected and re-elected based on a nationalist program and based on his close relations with MAGA and Donald Trump personally. For these reasons, many leaders of the Alliance for the Union of the Romanians, but also some other influencers, considered him the rightful person who defended the traditional conservative values and the model for the Romanians also in terms of leadership and capacity of gaining and regaining electoral majorities. Of course, now this disappearance of Orban will prompt them to search a new model. And coming back to the mainstream Romanian political parties and authorities, they are convinced that the relation with the new government in Budapest will be better, be more equally balanced, and new opportunities for direct collaboration will be themselves open. Nevertheless, we should stress also that Orban was never against Romania per se, and he illustrated himself several times by backing the interests of Romania, of course, underlying that he's backing in this way the interests of the Hungarian minority in Romania also. For instance, backing the entry of Romania into the Schengen area. So there are some pluses in the record of Orban, and the expectations for Magyar Péter are that he would be even more important supporter of the bilateral relations between Romania and Hungary.
Hungary has been very influential in Southeastern Europe, throughout the Western Balkans, etc. It was not accidental that in the previous European Commission, the commissioner for EU's extension was Hungarian. How is the new leadership expected new leadership of Hungary going to affect our region? What will be different under Péter Magyar's rule?
In terms of regional and more generally foreign policy, many analysts believe that the handicap of Magyar Péter and of TISA more generally is that they lack experience in foreign affairs, and because of the long-lasting political career, the Orbanists have entrenched their relations, especially in the region. But the Magyar Péter could cultivate an alternative to the relations that have been cultivated by Viktor Orbán, especially when approaching other leaders, but for instance, Mr. Vučić in Serbia, who is a nationalist and pro-Russian leader, and many other leaders with whom Orban had direct relations. Alternative relations would mean relations with the oppositions, with other prominent leaders of those countries, in such a way that the networks become more balanced and richer than in the past. It is believed also that Hungary will lose some influence because of this of the fact that the MAGA-based relations and these illiberal networks will be without Hungary in the future. But at the same time, there is an expectation to see Hungary as a much more cooperative actor in different regional projects, and also a promoter of an open, more liberal, more democratic advancement of European construction, including in matters of security, in matters of common foreign and defense policies, in matters related to human rights defenses and so on, because Viktor Orbán has blocked all these advancements, being obsessed with nationalist populist stance.
There are theories that Orban's going to opposition will liberate some void, geopolitical, let's say, void as a role in the region. And we are just a few days before the Bulgarian parliamentary elections, where some of the leading parties have traditionally been pro-Orban or pro-Hungarian. So what are your expectations in this regard? Will there be another Orban, maybe a lighter version of him, or even original version, but in a different country?
More or less seriously, if we want to avoid this scenario, Bulgaria should invite J.D. Vance to campaign for Mr. Konstantinov or for also for other leaders, because this will be the perfect recipe to lose, as we have seen in the Hungarian experience, but also in other contexts. More seriously, of course, there is a search for a new regional leader, both on the Trumpist in the Trumpist networks, but also in the Kremlin-led networks of influence. Robert Fico has some sort of a position and could be a replacement, but he's a little bit more moderate than Mr. Orban, more reluctant to do the unthinkable, so to go into a direct rapprochement with Moscow. And indeed, it could be a bet on the similar parties in Bulgaria, which is tired of so many elections in such a few number of years, and also tired of this undecisiveness of Bulgaria. The passage to euro was not seen as being successful by many Bulgarians, and could be another reason to move towards the establishment of a strong MAGA governmental base in Bulgaria, provided that the far right and nationalist populist forces win the soon coming elections in Bulgaria.
Finally, Magyar's success in the elections was seen by some as demolition of a regime of illiberal democracy. To what extent this is indeed the end of the regime in Hungary as we knew it until now, and to what extent this is rather a recalibration of what has been this regime for quite some time, given that, as we mentioned, Péter Magyar himself on some issues is not so much different from Orban, and also he's from former Fidesz politician.
The illiberal the illiberalism, as it was theorized by and practiced by Orban, has something very specific, and it is to some extent a model, but more than everything, it is an exception in an exceptionalist context, which was the Hungarian one, and very much related to Orban's personality. It is quite unlikely that Magyar Péter could fall into the same pattern, and even if some residual elements of illiberalism as thought and practiced by Orban will remain in the next government, it is unlikely that this would be suitable as an official doctrine for the new Hungarian government. The expectations of many are the opposite to that. And I think that with Orban, there is a certain way of practicing liberalism that is gone, not necessarily forever, but gone in the particular way he embodied this doctrine. Given its long-lasting terms in office, his 16 plus 4 years in power, given his influence over the entire region and its international connection, and his assertive political style, Orban has something unique that very few other leaders could emulate. and there was a discussion about George Simeon in Romania as being a failed Orban in his style and in his political intelligence and intuition. This says a lot about the irrepeatability of the pattern built and embodied by the now future former Prime Minister of Hungary.